All right, well, I think that we might get started if that's okay with everybody. So my name is Christine Giles and I am the Director of the Graduate Diploma in Migration Law and Practice. And already I'm getting a message that my internet is unstable. If we have any problems with internet, please just bear with us. I have alternatives. I'll swap over and rejoin. Just to let you know that this session is being recorded. So by taking part, you're acknowledging that you understand that it is being recorded. The recording, I think, will be made available to participants later on. So the recording itself doesn't actually show specific questions in the chat box or in the Q&A, your questions are recorded nevertheless, just so that we can get back to you if we miss anything. So yes, please feel free to ask your questions. So what I will do is run through the presentation. Hopefully a lot of your questions will be answered with me doing that. And as I said, the marketing team will answer what they can in the meantime. And otherwise I will come back and answer the questions a little bit later on. So as you can see from this slide, there are 3 steps to becoming a migration agent. If you do not hold a current Australian legal practicing certificate, then you must complete the Graduate Diploma in Migration Law and Practice, and you must complete this prescribed knowledge requirement at one of the approved providers. So UTS is indeed one of the approved providers. Now, there's big moves afoot in the industry at the moment, because probably by the end of this year, lawyers will no longer have to be registered migration agents to legally provide migration advice. And as long as they have an unrestricted practicing certificate. But it's still a very complex area, and many, many lawyers enrol in our program to learn about it. So if you are a lawyer with a full practicing certificate, then you can be exempt from the first and the last subject, and you only need to do the 4 in the middle. You need to apply for recognition for prior learning before you enrol in your subject. So when you make your application to be accepted into the program. So once you complete the graduate diploma, you then have to complete a capstone assessment. And this is an independent assessment. It's run independently for the MARA, the Migration Agents Registration Authority, and it's completely external from UTS. We don't have any input in it. But you'll be pleased to know that our course does, in our final module, include a free capstone preparation module. And I'm sure that some of you will have questions about the capstone. I'm happy to answer those as later on or as we progress. And it's also very important to be aware that there are other MARA requirements that have to be met to become registered. So please familiarise yourself with those. I do have another slide with some of them on it right here, but please don't embark on this process without making sure that you are likely to meet the other requirements. So with a few exceptions, anyone who provides immigration assistance must be a registered migration agent, and that's even lawyers at the moment, although they're likely to be exempted from the scheme by the end of this year. So as I've mentioned, UTS is one of the accredited providers of the Graduate Diploma in Migration Law and Practice, which is one of the knowledge requirements for those applicants for registration who don't hold a current unrestricted legal practicing certificate. And as I mentioned, there are numerous other requirements. So there's an English language requirement. So you can meet that requirement by one of the education options, which involves having been either educated in Australia or in a course that was taught in English, or you need a really good score, overall score in ELTS. I think they'll also accept a TOEFL result. You need to be either an Australian citizen, a permanent resident, or a New Zealand citizen who holds a special category visa. If you are an international student and you are not an Australian permanent resident or eligible New Zealand citizen and you're not an Australian citizen, then you're not going to be able to register. So that might not mean that you don't want to learn about Australian migration law, of course, but you do need to appreciate right from the start what those registration requirements are. Now, you will also need to obtain a police clearance. You have to be what's called a fit and proper person to become registered as a migration agent, just like a lawyer, just like an accountant and other professions. So if you don't have a clear criminal history and you have something on there that might concern you, you may need to get some advice before you embark on the entire journey and get there. And of course, it's also other requirements such as holding indemnity indicates. We do encourage you to familiarise yourself with all those requirements rather than just enrolling and hoping for the best. So why should you choose us? Well, I think, to be honest, that we have one of the best programs, probably the best program, although I've been told that our reputation is that it's hard. It is hard because we try to teach you a lot. But it is a way, it's a very practical course. We use Canvas, the learning management system called Canvas. It's a very interactive experience for students and we try to make it fun. It's a really complex area of law. There's no getting away from that. You do have to be prepared to work hard, but we try to make it fun. We try to give you activities that really make you look forward to seeing what's in store for you in the next module. You will be learning from experts. So our practitioner lecturers focus on teaching you about the specific visas, the practices, teaching you all the other aspects that you need to know, how to understand to interpret legislation, for example, and how to understand the review rights that are available when a visa might be cancelled, something like that. So we do combine theory with practice. And as the slide says there, you are able to complete this course within a year. Now it's a full-time 12 months, part-time 18 months. But you guys, if you're considering enrolling now, you are picking a wonderful time because you will be the last cohort that has the opportunity to complete within a year by doing 2 subjects at a time. So I'll talk a little bit more about that on one of the upcoming slides. The capstone preparation module will be invaluable to you to help you know what to expect. And once again, you're picking a really good time to be starting because the capstone provider until the end of this year is the College of Law, and we're going to have a different provider from next year. And students who are just starting off in summer session will have the benefit of having a number of our graduates will have already sat the capstone before it's your turn. So we'll be able to get some intelligence and pass it on. They can't tell you what's actually on the paper, of course, but we get lots of other very important information and strategies and ideas about how to handle it the best. So it is very flexible in that you can just work at your own pace, although you are expected to complete the modules within the week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks that those modules are open and available. So this is the current structure of our course. At the moment, it is offered in 6 subjects. So you guys have the opportunity to complete the graduate diploma just paying for 6 subjects, or 4 if you happen to be lawyers and can be exempted from the first and last subject. So we thoroughly recommend that you don't take more than 2 subjects per session. There are some students who take 3 and I won't say that they don't do well. They pass, but they probably don't do as well as they would do if they only took 2 subjects per session. Because you have to sit that independent capstone at the end once you've graduated, you really do need to get the most that you possibly can out of each subject in this program. So strongly do not recommend that you take 3 subjects at a time, even though the university will allow it. It's a 12-month full-time program as far as the MARA is concerned and as far as the profession is concerned. And the expectation is that will take you 12 months to complete. And you can do that by completing 2 subjects in summer session, 2 subjects in autumn session, 2 subjects in spring session, and you'll be finished within 12 months. So there's really no reason, especially for you guys who have this wonderful opportunity to complete 2 subjects per session, there's no reason for you to consider doing more than that, really. We have a wonderful team of expert migration agents and lawyers. I'm the program head. Tom Foran is also on staff. He is a practitioner lawyer. Marina, well, she's quite famous actually, because she was on the SBS Go Back to Where You Came From live, but she's also won the Young Woman Lawyer of the Year and has quite a high profile. Alan Freckleton is actually based in Canada. He worked for the department for many years and is now a barrister specialising in the review aspects. So he helps me out with our 5th subject, which is all about what can go wrong when you're dealing with the department. And Alison Ryan is our specialist who takes our refugee and humanitarian module. She's a senior caseworker at RACS, the Refugee Advice Case Service in Sydney, based in Sydney. So our approach is very much teaching you to be practice ready when you complete the program. So we do give you the knowledge that you need, but we also focus very much on the skills and teach you to reflect on your work and to analyse and to solve legal problems. Really, that's what you're learning about, how to solve migration law problems. All our subjects align with the OMARA Occupational Competency Standards for Migration Agents, and that is what the capstone assessment is supposed to assess. It's supposed to test whether or not you can meet those competency standards. Our focus, as with most UTS programs, is on work-ready, practically orientated graduates. So all the assessments you do will be very similar to tasks that you would do as a registered migration agent. So everything is accessible online. We don't use webinars, but we do use Zoom for our online classes. They're much more interactive than this. You'll be doing lots of polls. You'll be doing answering lots of chat box questions. We'll be putting you into breakout rooms to do your problem solving exercises. Our online platform, Canvas, is much more user-friendly than Blackboard, which is what we started on. And it gives us the opportunity to provide you with interactive materials. And the great thing about it is that when you complete a module, you can export it so that you can access it offline. So you don't always have to be online to be accessing your materials. And as long as you've got good internet access, then you can access our materials and our experiences for you, our interactive activities, wherever you are. Now, before I tell you about this, I might just run a little poll. Those of you watching the recording won't be able to see this, but just asking all the participants who've joined us tonight, can have a bit of a practice at doing a poll. We do use quite a few polls, asking whether they have experience in the migration arena. And the options are no, none at all. Yes, I applied for a visa for myself or a family member. Or yes, I am working in the area. So we've got quite a mix, I can see here. In fact, the majority so far actually applied for visas for themselves, or they've helped someone else do that. It's really interesting. One of the first activities we do is ask about the motivations of our new students, and so many new students are interested in this area, either because they had a very bad experience with a migration agent, or whether they had a good experience, or because they've done it themselves and found that they were able to solve the problems that needed to be solved and thought maybe they were good at this. All right, well, thank you to everyone who's voted. I know not everyone can. Sometimes people are watching on phones and things that makes it a little bit hard, but I'm going to end the poll and I'll share the results with those of you in the room, which we do during our online classes, and can see that from our stats, exactly 50% have applied for a visa for themselves or a family member. And then we've got a quarter with no experience in migration law, and a little bit over a quarter who are actually working in the area themselves. So thank you for sharing that information. It is important, though, that you do understand that if you have no legal background, no background in migration law, don't worry. The first subject is designed especially for you. Now, this slide is about our Client Communications Project, which is a new initiative. We're collaborating with Dr. Laura Smith-Kahn as part of her research project. And the focus of this is very much to get you ready for the oral component of the capstone assessment, but for practice, to be able to confidently interview clients and take instructions from them and give them oral advice. Because one of the criticisms that was made of the graduate certificate program that the Graduate Diploma replaced was that students or graduates were coming out quite capable of writing a letter of advice, but they hadn't had any experience in actually talking to clients and giving them oral advice. So that's what this project is all about. And everyone gets involved. We've got a number of course presentations. We have workshops. Well, usually they're online, but usually they're on campus, but due to COVID, we're doing them online at the moment. So everyone can get involved in that, but also you have the option to opt in to Laura's research project and get some additional individual feedback from her. So if you enroll, you'll see information about that right from the start, and you can get involved in that. Now, we do have, well, yes, normally optional on-campus weekend workshops for 78300 through to 78303. They are our first 4 subjects, and we offer online workshops for all subjects. The focus of those workshops, as I said, is all about interview skills. And it's not a situation where if you come to one, you don't need to come to the other, because they all build on each other. At this stage, they're running online. Whether you get a chance to do an on-campus one will remain to be seen. And we've already mentioned that there is a capstone assessment preparation program as part of our final subject 78305, where this program is based on the College of Law structure. As soon as we know who the new provider is and what the new structure is, we'll make adjustments as we need to. But our online strategy class is really popular because we have our successful graduates come back who have actually either already passed the capstone or who have sat a component, and they come back and share their strategy and tips with us. The oral exam is one of the possible assessments for 78305, and that too, of course, is good practice for the capstone. In our final subject, you have the option of doing an approved internship. So students who do the approved internship don't have to do the oral exam. If you're already working in the field, it's quite okay to do your internship as a paid internship with your employer. But if not, it's just a matter of contacting agents in the area and asking if they'd be prepared to supervise you for 10 days, really. More than 50% of our students find internships for themselves, and it's always a really positive experience. They get a lot out of it. In terms of assessment, you'll be pleased to know there are no 100% exams, and there are actually no invigilated exams that you have to attend on campus. So if you're doing the 78305 oral exam, that's done online over Zoom. So of course that's invigilated because the teacher, the assessor, plays your client. But the other exams, it's just a matter of downloading the exam paper at the time it becomes available, working on your paper, and then uploading your answers. You are awarded marks for participation, so participating in all our discussion forums, group activities, various different quizzes, practice quizzes and things that are available for you. At the end of each module, there are 4 modules in each of the 6 subjects. And at the end of each module, you have a quiz. It's only with 2.5 marks. So it's a good way to test and make sure how you're progressing, see how you're understanding the subject matter. It doesn't cost you a lot of marks, but it's just a good way to give you an idea of how you're going, how you're progressing. For the first 5 subjects, your main assessment will be a practice file. So as I said earlier, our assessments are all about giving you tasks that you would be doing once you're qualified. So you might be writing a letter of advice, you might be writing a file note, you might even be writing a submission. Not in the first subject, you won't be writing a submission to the tribunal or the department, but as you progress through, the practice files get more and more complex and give you a really good opportunity to work on a client's case right from the beginning to the end. And we also give you opportunities to fill in a few visa application forms, citizenship application form, and an application for an AAT hearing. Although you might be surprised to find out that being a registered migration agent really isn't about filling in application forms. It's really about knowing how to solve migration law problems. And we'll have you working on lots of case studies, because that is a great way to see migration law in action with real life cases, see how the law applies to them, what the outcome is. Now these slides are all about UTS Central. This is the lovely new building in Sydney that I haven't even seen. I'm based in the Gold Coast. I think about the week or 2 after the law faculty moved in, it was all closed down due to COVID. But hopefully during the course of your program, you'll get an opportunity to use some of these lovely new facilities. So the library is in building 2, which is also where the law faculty is. There's lovely moot trial courts, lots of different collaborative spaces and individual spaces for student learning. So if you're based in Sydney, once the buildings open up, again, you'll be very welcome just to go in either to the library or to one of those student learning spaces. Just because it's an online program doesn't mean that you're not entitled to all the same facilities that all the other students who are normally on campus are. And that includes all the resources that are available and the support. So we have a director of students, Stuart Lowe, and he will assist you if something goes wrong really during your studies, if you have a family emergency that was unexpected, any advice outside the content. I can certainly assist you with the content and the running of the program and assessments and things like that. But Stuart will help you if you come up against issues that you really need help with, or if you have accessibility issues, Stuart will assist you with that. One of the most wonderful supports available at UTS is HELPS, the Higher Education Language and Presentation Support Service. Now, more than 50% normally of our students are students who are either non-English speaking at home or are from non-English speaking backgrounds and for whom English is their second language. Now, your level of English or standard of English has to be very high, not only to do well in this program, but to pass the capstone and to be able to register with the MARA. So you should take and plan to take advantage of all the services that HELPS offer, because they offer lots of support to assist with English language issues, and they also provide lots of academic support. So if it's been a long time since you've studied and you're a bit nervous about having to do an assignment after all these years, they provide wonderful academic support. Now, even before COVID, you could contact HELPS and let them know you're enrolled in our program, and they would do an online Skype session with you to go through your assessment or whatever. So please bear that in mind. I'll be reminding you, of course, once you get started. And another service available is our Career Hub. Now, they actually manage our internships, so you'll be familiar with Career Hub before you end the program, but they offer many supports in terms of resume writing and lots of job applications and assistance with that sort of thing. So they're just some of the supports that are available. And as I said, just because you're online students, our program is fully online, doesn't mean that you're not entitled to all these same supports. Now, this slide is all about fees, and our marketing people will be happy to be answering any questions about those that have popped up in the meantime. But you can see that at the moment, if you have to take all 6 subjects, the total price based on 2020 fees would be $21,528. And there's some information there about fee help eligibility. Important to note that if you are a UTS alumni, you get a 10% fee discount, which is great. And I'm not sure whether I have a slide about it, but some of our students progress from the graduate diploma to the Juris Doctor, and they actually are entitled to 30 credit points towards their Juris Doctor if they've completed our program. And again, they get that 10% off. So a handful of our students decide that, yes, this slide is all about applications for summer session. They are now open. And we get started on the 26th of November. If you're looking at autumn session or spring session next year to begin, then you need to be aware that there will be changes. You will not be able to complete the program in 12 months doing 2 subjects at a time, because this is the last summer session that we are offering for all our subjects, because UTS is moving to block and intensive mode after that. So if you just come along out of curiosity and you're thinking of starting next year, I'd really recommend that you give a bit of thought to whether it might be worth starting in summer, so that you do have the opportunity to do those 6 by 6, 2 by 2 by 2 and still finish within the 12-month period. Now, I can